Aluz Akbar is also saying the news channels are already moving on from the evacuation. There are no gory pictures coming out. Frankly, I'm shocked that it hasn't been more chaotic. I agree with that. I mean, the whole thing should have been a much bigger disaster. This is, and that's what I'm saying. Like, again, you're going to accuse us of being like straight up liberals, but this is if Trump had done it, if Obama had done it, if it wasn't the Taliban taking over immediately, there would have been some issue or another. This was such a complicated thing. There's an entire generation of people who grew up under while the U.S. was occupying Afghanistan. This entire generation, like people who were born at the start of the war, are now over 18. They're 20 years old, right? I mean, this has been a huge thing. So you could not get out of it without something going bad. So the fact that it's not more chaotic is kind of the important thing is like how it all turns out, right? How it all turns out over the next few weeks.
I hope people don't, and like, here's the thing, we're saying things are not as bad as a lot of people anticipated. People could take this and be like, oh, you guys, like, because there are certain bad things that are happening. There are absolutely bad things that are happening. Some groups of people have been massacred. Taliban is around and looking for people. Some groups of Taliban, not all of Taliban, but some groups of Taliban are going around and trying to find people who work with the Americans and trying to find them, like, they're right. And the Taliban in Kabul are saying, oh, that's not okay. We're going to go find them and we're going to stop them from doing that, right? And then some Taliban right now is saying, like, okay, women, stay home for now because we don't have full control over all of our Taliban members. And if you're out in the streets, these other Talibans that we don't have control over, they might abuse you, and we want to avoid abuse. Eventually, we're going to get a hold of everybody and make sure that they understand the new rules is that not everybody has to have a burqa. That's what the Taliban in Kabul are saying. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but it's not the same as the Taliban 20 years ago, okay? Some people are being massacred. Some people are being killed. There are certain Taliban that are going and like, where are your girls? If they're above 12, they belong to us now. This is like spoils of war. Like, give us your girls as wives, right? So those things are happening. And if we say things are not as bad as a lot of people anticipated, it's not a dismissal of how bad these incidences are. Like, these are horrible, right? This is very horrible. Like, there was like, some Hazari groups Shia groups were like killed, like 9 of them, okay? But this 9 Hazaris that were massacred, for example, is not the same as the Taliban 20 years ago. Again, this is not an endorsement of the current Taliban. This is like their survival. Right now, like, a lot of money is on the line. The Taliban needs some international legitimacy for all of their frozen assets to become back to them. They need the money, okay? And also, the Taliban today is dealing with an Afghanistan that is a lot more complicated, and a Taliban that wants to remain in power, and a Taliban that is going to require a lot of expertise of the people that are leaving, and also a Taliban that wants to keep a lot of officials in the government because they know how to do certain things that they don't. So this is for their own survival and also for their own, monetarily interests this is not a Taliban that is like maybe ideologically different from the Taliban 20 years ago, but this is a Taliban that is strategically smarter than the Taliban 20 years ago, and it's a Taliban that is dealing with a different kind of Afghanistan than the Taliban 20 years ago. So it is expected for things to be different. And again, just because things are not as bad as what we expected right now, it doesn't mean that it might not actually become like that, right? Maybe like 5 months from now, 5 days from now, 5 years from now, or like a decade from now, we're like, oh my God, it's actually a lot worse, right? Like, things can change. But right now, things are encouraging, okay? Things are encouraging. Again, I'm not saying it's going to stay like this. I'm not predicting in the future, but this is bad, but it's not as bad as we anticipate.
Hey guys, if you want to join these streams live, get your comments and questions read by Ali and Armin and the guests, and most importantly, to get full access to the full video versions of all these episodes, become a patron. Link in the description below.